everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Alice and this channel is called Alice's Life. Yes, I am wearing my pyjamas, but I thought it matched in with the colour scheme. I've got red flowers here, red pyjamas. Anyway, today I'm going to be doing the reader tag. It's 11 questions. I've seen people do this before. I think these sort of tags were around a few years ago, but anyway, here I am doing it because I'm uploading less reading content nowadays. So I'm going to put the question up and then say my answer. Well, I don't really have a specific place at home to read. I read in a variety of different places. I sometimes read in my bed, mostly on weekend mornings, or sometimes if I wake up in the night I'd read in bed. For work I sometimes read in my armchair, or just in general I read in my armchair, and it's underneath a Velux window so it gets a lot of light. And then there's two armchairs on the ground floor that I will also sit and read. I don't use random scraps of paper, I don't see the point because I've got lots of bookmarks. Some of them I've made myself, some of them have been given to me, and in particular I like frozen ones because I do love little Olaf, so yeah, anything frozen, that's what I use. Ideally I'd like to finish a chapter because then it's kind of like at a good point in the story where it should be easy to follow on and like you've finished a section. But unless the house is on fire and you've got to leave right now, I would never finish mid-sentence. I'll try and get to the end of a page, ideally, but ideally end of a chapter, definitely. Yes, I do eat or drink whilst reading. I'm not a very mindful reader. I always am watching TV or reading something, but I think it's very difficult to keep a book flat unless you put something heavy on it, but then you have to like move the things to change the page. So I tend to read magazines while I'm eating. And definitely no crumbs. If I'm eating something crumbly, sit well back. Like, I don't know, I hate it when you get back from the library and it's got a little bit of food in it, it's just disgusting. I don't listen to music and I don't watch TV whilst reading. I think that sort of level of multitasking is too difficult for me because I've got auditory processing disorder. So ideally, complete silence. A little bit of ambient sound in the library is sometimes okay, but if I'm reading something that's like hard to grasp, I would really like complete silence. Sometimes I would read 2 fiction books at a time, however, particularly if the stories are similar, they just get too muddled up in my head and it's hard to work out who's who. So I prefer to read 1 fiction and then also maybe have 1 or 2 non-fictions, because they're kind of easier to dive in and out of and you don't have to like keep up to date with the story. So I think 1 fiction and then non-fiction, but I think you don't just have to read 1 book at a time, you can have lots of different books on the go. I would read everywhere. I kind of prefer reading out of home because there's less distractions. When I'm at home I feel like there's more productive things I could be doing. I could be doing stuff on my laptop, I could be watching something on TV, which I can't do when I'm out of home. But like when you're out of home, if you've got a book, then that's like usually can be the most productive way to spend your time rather than scrolling social media, which is tend to my go-to is more social media. But I'd say I kind of like, yeah, it's a bit weird, I prefer reading out of home. Well, I'd say reading aloud is pretty obnoxious, particularly if you're in public. So I always read in my head. I think that's the way you should do it unless you're like learning to read and you're 4 years old. However, if I had a cat, I would read to them to help them improve their vocabulary. I have done that in the past and it's a bit weird, but I think it's a good way to practice talking because the cat won't judge you. When I'm reading non-fiction, I definitely would skip ahead and skip pages because not all of the whole book isn't relevant to me. However, I'd say skipping pages in a fiction book is cheating and you should not do it, or it won't count towards your reading goals and you can't tick it off as being a book completed. I don't know if that's controversial, but I think you can't really skip pages in a fiction. And if you are skipping loads of pages in a non-fiction book and like only reading a couple of chapters, then I don't think that could count as a whole book that you've read. If you're like trying to reach a certain goal, or like do 50 books a year or 100 books a year, if you've only read like little bits of it, that doesn't count. It has to be like cover to cover to count. Or, well, I'd say definitely don't break the spine. I hate breaking the spine of new books. It just gives me heebie-jeebies. But then it tends to mean you're like reading a book like this because you can't open it fully without breaking the spine. So I don't know, but in general I read library books and the spine's already broken, or I suppose hardback books are good because you can't really break the spine. But yeah, preserve your new book spines so they look new and they don't have the crack, so they look pretty on the shelf. No, I do not write in my books. I think that's naughty. I don't really see the point in writing in fiction books unless you're like doing it for work related or university or like education. But I would write in non-fiction books, and I do have non-fiction books that I've underlined and highlighted because I plan to keep them. Yeah, but if you're going to give on a book or sell it to someone, then don't write in it, and if it's a library book, definitely do not write in it. Although I do like getting books from the university library where someone has already gone through and underlined things and made little notes, because I think it can be interesting, and sometimes they've picked out the key points in the book anyway. So I sometimes like looking at annotated books, but I wouldn't do that myself. I think books should be preserved. Okay, so that was the 11 questions. Please comment below if any of these opinions are controversial or if you agree with anything. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and bye!